Peter, how you doing today?
Good.
Your character of Chuck Traynor is quite a despicable individual in what he does to Linda.
Thank you very much.
And some of those scenes are so brutal to watch. I mean, how do you film that with Amanda? Are you guys palling it up afterwards? I mean, what's your method with that?
Well, I can only do scenes like that if my co-star is going to be okay, mentally and physically, obviously. But before doing this project, that was sort of my main concern, was that I would be doing it with someone where we would be able to explore the sex and violence in a way that wasn't bullshit, but also that there would be boundaries, that that it was like safe for both of us to be doing it. And I think for me, the fact that I have such a strong family, I have a wife and 2 children and a very happy life, it makes it easier for me to go out and explore things that are dark. I think it's more difficult, or it was more difficult, even back when I did Boys Don't Cry, to get lost in something. You didn't have like an anchor when you came home.
Right. Talk about researching the character. Obviously, Chuck was a real person. I mean, were you familiar with him? Had you seen Deep Throat? Were you aware of the controversies after?
I'd never seen Deep Throat. I didn't know who Chuck Traynor was. I didn't know who Linda Lovelace was, really. Like, if you had said her name, I wouldn't have known which porn. I knew she was a porn star. I had seen a little bit of Deep Throat. I think there were a lot of them at one period. Back in 1980 in Oklahoma, my friend had the Playboy channel, and we would just sort of watch it go like this. The lines would be going like that. You'd see half a body, and it was, the thing is, with pornography back in that time, my memory of it through the kind of fuzzy screen was that it was more naive, that there was a sense of humor about it sometimes, that it was in many ways less graphic and violent. But, who knows?
Can you talk about working with the directors, Friedman and Epstein? Because I love their documentaries, and
yeah.
But I can't imagine working with 2 directors. What's that like on set?
It didn't feel that much different from working with one director. I mean, the 2 of them really balance each other out. A lot of times they talk about things to themselves and then come with a unified opinion. They're not standing in front of you like arguing over what it should be. So when they would come up and give a piece of direction, it was usually something that they had been talking about together, and they would come up together.
Right. Last question, and you referred to it earlier. Watching this film, you really think about pornography and if it's a good thing or a bad thing. What's your view on pornography?
Whether or not it's good or bad is sort of irrelevant, because it's existed forever and it will exist forever. So I think it's more about trying to educate our children and teach our children about sexuality in a way that doesn't make them either too obsessed with it or too scared about it. It's obviously, sex is one of the centerpieces of life. I think if you pretend that it isn't, then people end up doing aberrant things. Things that aren't going to make them happy in the end. That's all I mean by aberrant. So I think it just begins with our children, and I think, restrictions on the porn industry and stuff are useless. It's gonna leak somewhere.